Best player I played against is...
In 2023, a masked rapper going by the name of Dide appeared on the internet.
Being away from your family at such a young age it's never easy.
New rappers appear every day, but there was something different about Dide.
My biggest challenge was probably being...
Not only was his music becoming popular fast, but a rumour started to spread that this rapper was actually a Premier League footballer in disguise.
Love to win a Champions League personally.
Eddie Nketiah, Alex Iwobi, Sheyi Ojo, who is Dide?
The funniest guess is probably that I'm not a football player.
Fast forward to April 2024 and his most recent music video has over 200,000 views in its first 2 weeks. He has 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
If I could change one thing in the industry, it would just be...
Those that said Dide was a one-hit wonder were wrong. We sat down with the rapper who tells us all about his crazy double life, what it's like to be a footballer and a rapper, and finally, who is Dide?
I feel like taking off the mask. My name is Dide. I'm a footballer and rapper, and I'm here to do perspectives for rising ballers.
First question is, there's a lot of speculation online about your identity. Anything you want to say in regards to that?
I understand why, there's a lot of speculation about who I am, who I could be, but, I'd love for a lot of the public to just really put their focus onto the music, the message behind it, and the positive vibes that, I'm trying to spread. That's what Dide is about.
Why do you hide your face? Do you conceal your identity because it could harm your football career, or is it other reasons, or a mixture?
No, I feel like being in the music industry, as well as being a football player, it's two separate things. I wouldn't want, the music to distract my football. Football's always been the main focus, it still is. And I feel like having my face hidden allows me to express myself without any personal bias towards myself or any team that I could play for.
You're doing something very different, something pretty unheard of as a footballer. Do you see yourself as a pioneer?
No, I wouldn't consider myself a pioneer. Not yet anyway. We're still new into this. I'm really pleased with how it's gone so far. Like I said, the message that's been pushing, the way that we've connected with loads of people around the world. And, I hope I continue to have the opportunity to connect with loads of other people. But yeah, we're just getting started.
What did you expect when you first dropped music?
Yeah, I mean, it took off a lot, to be honest. Like, I wasn't really expecting it to take off the way it did. Thrill was just, an introduction to me as an artist, and I'm really pleased with how it went. It just goes to show, anything's kind of possible, and the way that me and my team wanted to execute that, it all kind of went to plan.
What came first for you, rap or football?
Football.
Really? When did you start rapping? What sort of period in your life?
Football's always been my main focus. It always will be. It's my main love. Just like any other human being, we all have hobbies that we like doing. And on my days off, occasionally over the last year or so, I'd spend some time in the studio, and yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Do you think the public should be more accepting of players doing things such as fashion or music, or just generally things like football? Yeah,
I feel like footballers, just like any other occupation, they have hobbies outside of their main occupation, and it's another way, with fashion, with music, with loads of different things for us to express our creativity. And I'd really appreciate that moving forward, if the footballers are seen as more than just footballers. we're human beings at the end of the day, and you know, it would be. I'm sure there's a lot more other players that have other talents hidden that they don't really get the opportunity to showcase it because of the stigma. So yeah, that would be my hope for the future.
Do you think things like this are more accepted in other sports?
Not really, to be honest, because I don't really know many football players or any athletes in general that are doing anything other than, you know, what their main occupation is. Like I said, it's kind of seen as a negative, a distraction towards what you're doing, and I think that's wrong. Everyone, like I said, has another side to them. Everyone's got creative things that they might want to show, and they should be allowed to feel free in doing that.
Does your gaffer know you rap?
No.
No clue. Have we ever posted you on Rising Ballers?
Yeah.
Jokes. If you could, what would you change about the football industry and why?
What would I change? I think, firstly, being a football player is an amazing privilege, and you know, I'm very grateful to be in the position that I'm in. I wouldn't want to take that for granted. You know, I know there's a lot of players that didn't get to where I've got, didn't get the opportunity that I've had. So, you know, I'm really blessed to be in this situation. I think if I could change one thing in the industry, it would just be for players to be more respected as human beings. A lot of the stigma that we get online about our appearances, our performances, you know, whether we lose a game, obviously it comes with part of the job, but ultimately it does knock our confidence, and we are kind of seen as robots. And I feel like that would definitely, you know, help the players moving forward.
Can you tell us a bit about the behind the scenes in football, things that the fans don't see, you know, what goes on in the changing room that the fans might not expect?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously I can only kind of speak for myself, but most of the players, you know, we're all like one big happy family. You know, we see each other every day. We laugh, you know, when we win games, it's an amazing feeling. Just like in any family, you know, when things are going well, everyone's together, everyone's locked in. And when things aren't going so well, you know, it's a bit depressing. The training ground atmosphere is not the same, but, you know, we all love being in this position. We all strive for victory, and yeah, we keep striving forward.
When you look back on your youth, what were the major things you sacrificed personally for football?
The main sacrifice for me would be just being away from my family and friends when I was a child. I mean, I didn't really have a childhood just because I was always traveling for games, away games, you know, sacrifices after school. And yeah, obviously they paid off, but when I look back to where I was back then, yeah, not having a childhood, it's definitely, you know, a big sacrifice.
Did that affect you mentally much, or does it still affect you, do you think?
A little bit. I mean, like I said, I'm blessed to be in this position, so I wouldn't want to like, I'm happy, you know, the way things have gone, but obviously not having a childhood, it can have, you know, effects on you later on in life, and you know, I'm definitely dealing with that.
What sort of advice would you give to maybe young boys that have been released from their clubs or not quite made it or not where they want to be? Can you relate to that in any way, or, you know, have you got any advice for them?
Yeah, I would just say to keep going. I mean, the biggest advice, yeah, I'd say is to keep going. I feel like your journey's never finished. You know, me personally, I was released as well, so I understand what it's like to be in that position where, you know, you don't quite get the answer you was looking for, and you have to go again. There's so many stories out there of, you know, players playing at the highest level that have, you know, received rejection and kept going, kept pushing. So yeah, that would be my main advice, is to never give up. My biggest challenge has probably been just trying to stay mentally strong. So I'd love to win a Champions League personally. Best player I've played against is...
Do you think sometimes in football players can get too much too soon?
Yeah, I mean, I relate to that as well. Like, I was one of the fortunate ones to get money soon. I feel like it's part of what comes with, you know, being a talented young player and playing at the highest level. It's difficult because, you know, we go from backgrounds where we don't have much money, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're in the spotlight. You get loads of money, you get the fame, you can afford the cars, the watches, and it's nice, but the novelty kind of wears off, and I guess that's what leads me on to this music, because I feel like a lot of players are going through this cycle where, you know, they're in the limelight, they're spending all this money, but there's not much joy to it. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm trying to portray in the music, is that, you know, there's a bigger picture behind all of the materialistic things that you get with the money. And it's how you know, influence other people in a positive way so that, you know, when they get into that position, they know what to do best.
If you're honest with yourself, when you were younger and you first discovered money as a footballer, you first got money, got your first pro, whatever it was, do you think you lost hunger a bit, looking back?
Me personally, no, I've always been a driven character. You know, I've got loads of ambitions that are still yet to achieve. And no amount of money could sway that from me. But I know some other players in particular have lost their hunger. They might deny it, but I think, you know, it's pretty obvious when someone's not really driven the way that they should be, or the way that they was before they got the money and the fame. So that's what I mean. It's definitely a subject that is delicate. Everyone's different. Like I said, I was different to someone else, but yeah, it's part and parcel of making it to the highest level.
Growing up, who was your hero in football? Who was your favourite player? Who did you look up to and why?
Thierry Henry. I mean, obviously everyone says it, but I think he's definitely the top two, top three strikers to ever play in the Premier League. Yeah, the amount of influence he had on me personally was great, and yeah, he's a lovely person as well.
Amazing. I want to ask you the same question in music as well.
My biggest influence in music would probably be Drake, just because of he was one of the big stars that I was listening to when I was a lot younger, and yeah, seeing his career develop into what it is today kind of gives inspiration to, I'm sure, a lot of artists around the world that, you know, they can have similar journeys.
Can you talk us through what's been the toughest challenge of your football career so far, and how you overcame that, or whether you're still overcoming it?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest challenge has probably been just trying to stay mentally strong. I feel like in football, it's like a roller coaster. You know, 1 minute you're doing amazing, next minute you're injured, you're out for a few weeks, next minute you're back in the team, you're winning, you're losing. It's never really plain sailing, and it's difficult to stay strong mentally. You know, it's an ongoing battle for me, and I'm sure a lot of other players out there as well. I feel like that's definitely the biggest challenge for a player at the highest level.
If you could go back and give your younger self some advice, what would you say?
Probably yeah, I mean, if I could go back, I would probably tell my younger self to stay patient. I remember when I was younger, I used to be so focused on the future. Like I said, I had big aspirations. You know, I've achieved some of them, and I'm lucky to have done that. But I was always eager for the future and what was going to happen in the future, and I didn't really embrace the present moment. So I feel like, yeah, I would just you know, focus, give 100% on today, and you know, the future is kind of written for you.
Nice. Well, you know, you're almost at the very early stages of your music career now. Are you, given what you've learned that from your football journey, which obviously started so much earlier, are you trying to sort of impact that or impart that on your music? Are you trying to be more present?
Yeah, I think the music represents just positive experiences within my life and within the football industry that I'm a part of, and it's all about expressing that in the best way that I can, and hopefully influencing loads of people around the world with the music, with the message that I'm pushing. And you can't really rush greatness, so it would be silly to have aspirations and be like, really trying to rush it. Everything kind of happens at its own pace, and as long as the influence and the message is being perceived in a positive light, then that's the main goal for me.
What are your long-term goals in football? What do you want to achieve in your career?
Just to be the best version of myself. I've been blessed enough to be in the position that I'm in, playing at the highest level, but I feel like there's always more to learn, there's always more to grow. I've never won a Champions League, so I'd love to win a Champions League personally. And yeah, just to be, to finish my career whenever that happens, and knowing myself that I achieve my full potential.
Since you started music, have you found yourself in a scenario where people are talking about Dide and you're the footballer at that point and they have no idea it's you?
Yeah, it happens quite often, to be fair. It's a bit weird. Obviously, I'm trying not to like show any emotion towards it, but it does happen quite often, especially in the football, in the changing rooms and stuff like that. But obviously, it's all new to me. Like I'm not really used to it, but it's nice that people can appreciate, what's kind of happened already, and they can appreciate the music that's come out so far, and there's a lot more to come.
Who's the best player you've played against and why?
Best player I've played against it's difficult. I've played against a lot of top players. I'll probably say Kevin De Bruyne, just because he's the all-round top player. I mean, obviously he's the most complete midfielder, I think, in the Premier League. And, he works so hard off the ball. On the ball, everyone knows his qualities. And he's like a leader in the team as well. So, yeah, I'd probably say him.
Who's the most underrated player that you've played with or against, in your opinion?
I'd probably say Jordan Henderson is the most underrated.
Why is that?
Just because, everyone kind of sees him as this player that's just running around, doesn't really influence the games much with the ball, but yeah, he's a top midfielder, and it's not a coincidence why he's been the captain for Liverpool for so many years. The stuff he does on the pitch is crazy, and yeah, he's definitely a top player.
What's it like growing up in digs away from home during the academy days?
Difficult, to be honest. I remember being in that situation when I was younger. Being away from your family at such a young age it's never easy. But it's just one of the sacrifices that you go through, to get to where we are today. And yeah, it's not easy, but it all pays off in the end.
What young players in football at the moment do you think are the ones to watch right now, and why?
I'll say two. I think Livramento, Newcastle, I think he's a top player, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. The other one I say is João Pedro. He's having a great season at Brighton at the moment, and he's definitely got a lot more to come from him. 1 minute you're comfortable, next minute you're leaving. The funniest guess is probably that I'm not a football player. I feel like taking off the mask.
Can you tell us a bit about behind the scenes in transfer windows as a player?
Yeah, it's a hectic period, to be honest. You never really know what's going to happen until the window closes. 1 minute you're comfortable, next minute you're leaving, or vice versa. 1 minute you're comfortable, next minute you're leaving to another club. Yeah, it's a hectic period. You can sense that like a lot of the players are on edge, for what's going to happen. Are they going to move clubs? And once the window closes, everyone kind of settles, and it's like that's the team for the next 6 months. So yeah, it's a frantic period, definitely.
Do you think sometimes in football changing rooms can be a hard place to settle into?
Yes and no. I feel like if you're a young player coming into a first team changing room, then it's difficult. It was difficult for me when I first broke into the first team, but I'm sure most clubs have top leaders around them that can guide the young players, and that's what they've done for me since I've been in the first team. So yeah, it's definitely a challenging period if you're a young player, but I think in the end, a lot of the squads, are welcoming, and you kind of feel part of the family eventually.
You ever gone through a period where you've received a bit of hate or something like that?
Yeah. There's been periods where I've received some stick. Like I said, it's just part of the roller coaster journey that you go through in football, and it's about how you deal with that mentally and how you come back stronger for it.
How big was the jump between academy football and first team football for you?
Yeah, it was a big jump from academy to first team, just purely because the quality of the teams that you're playing against, the training intensity is so much higher. There's so much finer detail in even like the little things like the passing drills in the warm-ups. Yeah, you definitely have to be 100% focused in training and on the pitch.
How long had you been planning Dide?
Few months before Thrill dropped was when we first started conversating about what we was gonna do, how we was gonna enter the music industry. Yeah, there was some hesitation initially, but I'm glad that we got to the position we're in now.
Are there any sort of similarities or differences between football and music industry that you've noticed since getting into it?
Nah, not really. It's been quite different in terms of contract stuff and having these label meetings. I feel like in the music industry, of course, they're much longer contracts. There's a lot more detail to the contracts as well. Whereas in the football, you kind of know, okay, I'm signing a 3-year deal or 4-year deal, 5-year deal. It's kind of more straightforward, and the main goal is to just play as well as you can and showcase what you can do to the club. But in the music industry, it's a bit more controlled, I'd say, in what you can produce, how many songs they want you to produce, and all that sort of stuff. It's a little bit more technical for me, so obviously it's all new to me, and I'm still kind of learning, the music industry.
What's the funniest guess you've heard about your identity?
The funniest guess is probably that I'm not a football player, because I find that crazy to me, like, to go through this whole marketing thing. If I wasn't a footballer, it's just sounds like a lot of work. So yeah, I think that's kind of the main one. Just saying that I'm not actually a football player. But yeah, like nevertheless, like I'm grateful for what we've achieved, and there's a lot more to come from Dide.
You dropped your first album late last year. What's the response been like?
The response to the first project's been amazing, to be honest. I'm glad that we was able to connect with people, and all the feedback's been really positive so far. It's important that the message is received as music and not as me like behind the mask, and I'm really happy that we've been able to do that, and hopefully with the more music that we release, the more people we can connect with in the future.
Have you spent any time considering removing the mask or revealing yourself, or have you not? Is that definitely not an option?
Nah, I mean we've had conversations about it amongst the team. I'm not really sure. Like I said, I wouldn't want to. You know, I'm really happy with the way things are in the sense that I can, you know, be and give everything to football, and I can also have this, you know, on the side, and I can still, you know, treat this as a love and as a hobby like I do. I feel like taking off the mask could complicate things, but you know, you never know what could happen in the future. And at the moment, I'm not really thinking about it too much. I'm just kind of going with the flow and seeing how things happen.
Have you done any live shows yet?
No, but we are looking to start doing that this year. Hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, we can get one done in the next month or two.
How do you feel about performing?
Obviously, I've never performed, so it's going to be an interesting one, but I'm pretty sure it'd be similar to being on the pitch. You know, loads of fans, similar sort of adrenaline. So I can't see it being too difficult, but you know, we'll see what happens.
Do you think wearing the mask maybe gives you a bit more confidence?
Nah, not really. I don't think so, because, you know, I'm just being myself. At the end of the day, obviously Dide, yeah, he's got a mask on, but ultimately, you know, it's me that's behind the mask, and it's me that's, you know, painting the picture for everyone that's listening to the music. And, you know, I've got to kind of embrace that emotion within what I'm saying, you know, all the songs that I'm writing. So yeah, there's not really any confidence booster. I guess it's just, you know, trying to find the best way to connect with the fans without actually having a face to put behind it.
Can you tell us a bit about like the creativity and art behind the mask?
Yeah, there's a deeper meaning behind it, but the main meaning would just be, you know, my favorite color is rose gold. So I wanted roses to be implemented in the mask in some way, shape or form. And yeah, me and my team kind of came up with the Black Rose name for the label. So it kind of just made sense, like Black Roses. And yeah, like Dide kind of represents just continuing to grow, continuing to rise. And you know, that's kind of the best sort of way to show that in an image form, and the Black Roses, yeah, it kind of all just connects together.
How long did it take to design and make and stuff? Do you only have one mask? Do you have multiple versions?
No, we got multiple versions of the mask. It took a long time, to be honest, but you know, we're happy with how it's come out, and you know, it's become a main face of the brand, which is really nice. And you know, hopefully, when people see the mask, they'll start to, you know, quickly identify as, okay, cool, that's D-Day. And yeah, you know, there's a lot more things that we're trying to do creative-wise moving forward as well. So yeah, you'd have to stay tuned.
Do you think being a footballer can almost limit your creativity?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of footballers have, you know, hidden talents, have hidden hobbies that they want to do, but they aren't able to express that purely just because of the stigma that comes with it. So that's kind of what Dide is. You know, he's trying to break out of the mold, trying to inspire other people to, you know, showcase all of themselves. You know, at the end of the day, us footballers, we are more than just footballers. We are human beings, and you know, we are creative, you know, athletes at the end of the day. So yeah, in any way that, you know, you want to embrace that, I feel like you should be able to.
Have you put much thought into the eventuality if, you know, music really takes off for you?
Not really, just because there's a lot going on in terms of my football, and I feel like that's the most important thing at the moment. You know, the music is kind of like a side thing, and I wouldn't want any sort of things to jeopardize that. You know, in the future we'll see what happens, but at the end of the day, you know, all of my focus, all of my efforts goes towards football, and you know, I wouldn't want that to change.
What can we expect from D-Day in 2024?
2024, there's new music coming out this month, hopefully. So, you know, we're working towards that. And yeah, there's hopefully going to be another project coming out in 2024 as well. We'll see what kind of happens, but yeah, the next song's hopefully dropping this month. So yeah, stay tuned on, you know, all the social platforms. And yeah, you know, start the year with a bang.
Who would you love to collaborate with musically?
There's a lot of artists I'd love to collaborate with, but the first name that comes to mind would be Young Ads and DBE. You know, I really like their music, really like their vibe, and sonically, I feel like we could create something special.
Who's the hardest artist in London right now, in your opinion?
Hardest artist I'd have to say is Dave, but I know a lot of people been pushing Central C hard, so you know, I'd probably say them two at the moment.
Oh yeah, what sort of music do you listen to before games or to get you hyped up for football?
To be honest, I don't have anyone in particular before training or games, but on average, I'll probably say Travis Scott recently, my main one. You know, like classic Meat Mill joints, a little bit of Drake. But yeah, I'd probably say Travis Scott's the last album that he just done, probably my most frequent one. Yeah, me and the man them came for war. If they won a good game, then I can't relate. That lyric was written for Derby Day. It's on the WHO IS DIDE EP. The meaning behind that lyric is, you know, like I said in the changing room, you know, before we go for a game, you know, everyone's kind of locked in, ready to go to war, and you know, if anyone's not in the same, you know, wavelength as us, then we can't relate to that.
There's obviously that track which is like very football heavy, but have you taken a lot of inspiration from football for your music?
For that particular song, yeah, it was kind of like driven towards the football listeners, just purely because of the context of what was being said in the song. I think it's quite cool to be able to kind of dip in and out of the football and music narrative within the lyrics, and I feel like that song's kind of football heavy, but you know, it kind of pumped me up when I was writing it. And I still even listen to it now before some training session, before some games. So yeah, it's definitely a cool one.
Who do you think's the best dressed footballer in the Prem right now, in your opinion?
It's difficult because there's so many now. I feel like fashion's really influenced a lot of football players in the Premier League, or worldwide, innit? But obviously in the Premier League as well. So it'd be difficult to narrow one individual, but you know, the fashion has definitely come a long way over the last couple of years, I'd say.
How into fashion are you personally? How much of a role does that play in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I love fashion. I've always loved it since young, since before I could even afford to buy it. And you know, I like all the runway fits, and you know, going to these fashion shows. You know, it's a real experience, and you know, I look forward to hopefully delving into that a little bit more in the future.
What are your favourite brands at the moment?
Probably Louis Vuitton, Prada, Rick Owens, and Moncler are my favourites. Yeah, they can't step on a picture of us if they're still in their party phase. That's another lyric from Derby Day. When I wrote that lyric, it was kind of just more of a reflection, because, you know, I've had my fair share of parties and you know, enjoying with the lads, but ultimately when it's time to get serious and time to get down to business, you know, anyone that's still in that phase, still in that having that mentality of, you know, going out partying all the time, you know, I'm not really with that anymore, and yeah, that's kind of what that represents. Just, you know, staying focused on the grind and being ready for action.
Was that a learning curve? You know, getting over you know, being young, partying.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not saying I would never go out again. It's kind of just, I'm not really, compared to how I was before. I'm not really in that same mind frame anymore. And anyone that's, you know, a part of, you know, my close team would know that I'm super focused on, you know, achieving greatness within the football career that I've got, and you know, helping the team as much as I can.
How strict are you on things like you know, diet, sleep, all the other things around being an athlete?
Yeah, I'm pretty strict with it. I feel like you gotta be really strict with it just to maintain the standards at the highest level. I mean, the margin for greatness is so small, and you know, it could be that extra 1-2% that you need to perform on a Saturday, by getting the right amount of sleep, by eating well, you know, doing extra sessions after training, before training, coming in early. You know, all these little things that kind of add up to that extra 10% that will make the difference. Yeah, funny because my purpose getting bigger now. I'm seeing 7 figures. That lyric was written for Thrill, my first single. I feel like when I wrote that lyric, it was kind of a reflection on, you know, just how far I've come, and you know how I've dealt with, you know, coming into money. And you know, initially, like I said, when I first got money, it was such an amazing feeling from not having any money, and you know, you want to go out shopping, spend loads of money on watches and like buy the latest car and all these other things, but the novelty wears off, and at the end of the day, it's about how you can, most importantly, better your career and how you can inspire other people in a positive way. So I guess, yeah, that was more of a reflection on how I can do that. And, you know, now, especially with this music thing, it's like the purpose is a lot bigger, both on and off the pitch. Yeah, finally found the courage to release the album. Another lyric from Thrill, the single. I guess there was some hesitation initially on, you know, whether we should pull the trigger with this music thing. And at the end of the day, you know, it's bigger than just me. It's like I said, it's influencing and trying to motivate other people and trying to connect with other people in a positive way, trying to inspire. And you know, once I kind of realized that it's not about me and it's about other people, and it's about, you know, the positive effect that this could have on so many people, it kind of was a no-brainer to go ahead with it. My question for the audience would be, which player that's featured on Rising Ballers has the biggest potential, and why?
Yeah,
There's some photos.
yeah, we'll do some photos.
Cool. Should we cut that?